Hi everybody, what's up? My name is Juan. I am just one reader and I am here for another reading wrap-up. Today I will be discussing books numbers 20 through 23 that I have read so far in 2017, and then at the end I will tell you what I am currently reading. So let's get started, shall we? Book number 20 was Speak Easy by Catherine M. Valente. I already made a separate review for this one. Suffice it to say that I gave this book 4 stars, which is really high. I love Catherine M. Valente's writing. She's an author who never ceases to amaze me. Ever since I read The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making, what was it, like 2 years ago, I'm always in awe of her writing and the way that she used language in this novella to create vivid, weird, dreamlike, whimsical settings and characters and a very convoluted but absolutely immersive plot. To me, this book, or rather reading this book, felt like being a part of a group hallucinating with the author, who is this sort of weird entity creating these worlds. It is a very weird experience. I'm not sure it's for everybody, but personally, I really loved it for what it was. It's not perfect, it's flawed, but if you are in for a weird, immersive, dreamlike experience that leaves you at a loss for words to explain what's happening, you might enjoy this. So I gave this one 4 stars. Book number 21, I also made a separate review for this one, so I will not talk an awful lot about it. This is an anthology of short stories, and it's not just any anthology, it's the anthology, the best American short stories of 2014. This is a collection of short stories edited by Jennifer Egan. This was the 2014 edition, and I loved it. I mean, if I had to rate the collection like an individual book, which I have to because Goodreads and ratings and BookTube, I think I'm gonna give it like a 4.5. It's a very, very good book. This has around 20 short stories, and I loved pretty much all of them. There were maybe a couple, 2 or 3 max, that I didn't love, but the rest I loved. And there was 1 or 2 in particular that I was just so blown away by that they became some of my favorite short stories of all time. So definitely read this if you are on the lookout for more good short stories. Some very important and very, very amazing voices in here. So Joyce Carol Oates, Karen Russell, Lauren Groff. There's so many good voices in here. I really recommend you to pick it up. Then book number 22, I haven't really talked about on the channel, so bear with me. The Glister by John Burnside. Excuse me. The Glister by John Burnside. So I read The Dumb House by John Burnside last year, and it was one of my favorite books of that year, which is something that happened to a lot of people. And then I started to investigate more about this author, and I discovered in an interview that he made that The Glister was his favorite book that he has ever written. So, like many other people, I immediately went and picked it up and read it. Okay, so I'm a little bit conflicted about this book. On the one hand, it was a very interesting read. I enjoyed it. I was really upset and shocked and disturbed by it, which are all good things for me. Those are some of the things that I'm looking for in a reading experience, so I really enjoyed that aspect. On the other hand, however, I felt like this book didn't quite live up to my expectations. it was not as good as the Dumb House, in my opinion, which is very personal, obviously. But I just found the Dumb House much more entertaining and appealing and profound, and it's a book that I would reread. Whereas the Glister, I'm not sure I would reread. So the plot. The Glister is all about this town, which is pretty much the saddest, most depressing, bleakest town you could possibly think of. It is the most depressing environment that you have ever seen in your life. It is this industrial village in Scotland where everyone is poor and depressed and sad and they feel trapped, and there's this like chemical plant that's sort of there, but it's closed, and it's kind of this dominating figure, this kind of horrible presence just there. It's such an atmospheric book, which is another quality that I really loved about John Burnside's writing in this, is how I always felt uncomfortable reading this. I always felt sad and upset and depressed, and genuinely I felt like something dark and awful was seeping into me when I was reading this book. While I read it, I had nightmares. I had very weird feelings. So kudos, John Burnside, because I love that kind of a reading experience. I really do. So it seems like I really enjoyed this book, and I did some aspects of it. However, the plot is kind of not as great. It's basically about this town, and some weird things have been happening in this town for the last couple of decades. Boys have been disappearing, and no one seems to know where they go to. No one seems to care about them. No one seems to do anything about it. It is a very profound and important discussion on justice and innocence and guilt and life and death and initiative and citizenship. It is a very interesting book, and a very interesting book to analyze, I think, because John Burnside does something really wonderfully. He rambles and philosophizes, and he can just go at it for pages and pages and pages on. And I really loved reading his musings and his philosophizing, but I think he sacrificed, at least for me, in my opinion, I think he sacrificed a little bit of the plot and the mystery and the suspense of it. So I ended up liking it very much, but I gave it 3.5. I also had a problem with the ending. I didn't love the ending. I thought it was kind of lackluster for me, kind of way too confusing. But I enjoyed the book, and I gave it 3.5 stars. It's an interesting book to discuss. Then book number 23 was Miss Bungles' book by D.E. Stevenson. This book was published in 1934, I believe. This book could not be more different to the Glister. This book is actually the antithesis to the Glister. It's the absolute complete opposite. This book is about quaint, colorful, warm, amazing English people in an English village doing all sorts of English things. We follow these characters as they carry on with their daily routines, living their everyday lives. They drink tea. They are sort of secluded from the rest of the world, so they're just kind of in this tiny little village, and everything seems so ideal and idyllic until Miss Bunkle, one of the characters who live in this village, decides to write a book, a very scandalous book about the secrets and the gossip and all the yeah, all the secrets that these people, these villagers have, and she publishes the book to get more money, and of course, calamity and hilarity ensue. This book is very similar in tone to I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith, so I think this one could appeal to you if you enjoyed that type of reading experience. This book is just like funny, heartwarming, nice, and very colorful. I really enjoyed it. I couldn't say that I loved it because, in order for me to love a book, like in order for me to give a book 4 stars or 5 stars, I need to really want to marry the book. Like, I need to obsess over a book. And this one was just a very nice, funny, cozy experience, and I loved everything about it, but it's still not that type of 5 star read for me or 4 star read for me. It was like a 3.75, like very close to a 4. But yeah, definitely give this a go if you enjoy things like Dodie Smith or Eva Ibbotson. It's really, really wonderful. Now, the book that I am currently reading is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, book number 4 in the series. I am reading this as an adult to make a discussion video of my series rereading Harry Potter as an adult. So, if by any chance you are rereading the series too, if you happen to know a lot about this book, stay tuned for the upcoming review and discussion video that I will be posting about Goblet of Fire, rereading Harry Potter as an adult. It's been a wonderful ride, a great journey, and this one has always been my favorite book in the series, so it's very interesting to see how I feel about this book now that I'm 25, almost 26, and I have a completely different view on many things, including books. So let's see how this one does. So that was it for today's reading wrap up. Thank you very much for watching. I am Just One Reader. I will see you next time.